Articulated.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you, sir?
Very good.
This is Mike Anderson over there in Atlanta, Georgia.
How are
doing,
you?
Mike? What part of Atlanta are you? North, south?
South. I'm in Southwest. You know, if you're
Southwest?
familiar with, Southwest Swats. If you're familiar
Swats?
with,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, your Outcast, your Goody Mob, your Dungeon Family, that's basically right here. I can see it. I can see it from this little window, this little light that you have coming in here where all that first took place.
Yeah, so are you, you're far, like north of the airport?
Just
Okay, yeah. All right.
East
I
Point.
know where you're at
I came
there.
from College Park. I was right on the airport at College Park. Now I'm in East Point.
Got it. I was in Charleston, South Carolina, but I grew up in Florida, but we used to go to, used to head up there to go to the, was it Alpharetta, or the
amphitheater?
The amphitheater.
The Lakewood.
Oh,
Lakewood, yeah. And that was where, because that was where all the Buffett parties were.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was there.
Right.
I went to Buffett at Lakewood too.
That was actually a great amphitheater for him. It was good, and because especially the little parking lot that they had out there, we had really good times out there.
Yeah.
See, leave it like that. That's I always like it when people just say that. You see the pause that they're thinking, then they go, always really good times there. I'll just leave it at that. We were in the parking lot. Yeah, always good times there.
Yeah, let's skip over some of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Welcome to Drop the Check. On today's episode, the chef of arguably the world's greatest spa. He's a man with a plan, but don't call him Dan. He's Chef Greg Frey.
We're remote location down here in San Diego / San Marcos.
I feel very honored.
Well, you should. It's very high level. So we're here at the Golden Door. We're going to go back into your involvement with the Golden Door here, but it is such a unique place and a unique environment. Can you, you don't have to be briefly, but just give us an overview of where we're at here and what's going on here at Golden Door.
Yeah, I think this place is a very special place, and as famous as the Golden Door is within the spa world, it's really you just meet someone even here in Escondido. There's people who didn't know that this place has been here for nearly 75 years.
Yeah,
and a lot of great energy has flowed through here, and this is it's not a resort as much as it's a wellness retreat. It is something different to each individual. We have people that come out here just to get away from it all. We have people that come and write a manuscript. We have people who just want to sit by the pool and do nothing. But the biggest thing that I love to say about the Golden Door is it's summer camp for adults on steroids.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is. But I've tried to explain it to people, and I find the same way. It's like either people I say, oh, I'm going down to Golden Door, and the people who know it are like, oh my God, that place is amazing.
Right.
And the people who don't, like, what? And I struggle to try to explain it because there is like the guests here this week, that's come up. It's kind of like adult summer camp. It is a special place, to explain as a visitor when you come on property. It's generally a week-long schedule from coming in on a Sunday, leaving on a Saturday. And, once you're on property, you come through the Golden Doors and you don't leave, and you never feel like you have to.
Right.
And, it's from all the culinary experience to all the physical activity. The 5 a.m. morning hike is my favorite thing to do here.
Beautiful here too.
And then there is, of course, yoga and fitness, but then there's educational classes, including culinary classes. Is that tonight or tomorrow
Cooking
night?
class is going to be tomorrow. Thursday night.
Thursday night. So each day of the week is different. And, I could go through the litany of things that go on here, but it is something more than that. It's the spiritual experience, the wellness experience. I think wellness is the best way to put it.
That's the best way to say it. But what I've always said, the gold of the Golden Door is the community that is created here.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, the guests come and spend a week together, and when they arrive here Sunday and Monday, 90% of them don't know each other. You may have come like with a family or some friends, but in the end, come Saturday, everyone is so connected.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the real power here is, like, the food, the fitness, the massages, the hiking, all of that is really to create the environment to allow that community to foster and come together. And it's those connections that bring people back here time and time.
Yeah.
So our return rate, if I told you, for every 10 people that walk through those golden doors, 6 of them will return for 10 times in their lifetime.
That's amazing.
It's wild. So, we actually, for those who spend 10 visits here, they get a special name plaque on their name for their rooms. And then they also get to hang a bronze medallion of their name on, we have a couple mobiles out there in the bamboo forest.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So now the bamboo forest was actually created by the founder, Deborah Zeke. She decided that they would plant a bamboo plant for every time you came 10 times.
Oh, wow.
So out there was literally name plaques stuck next to these bamboo plants everywhere. And if you don't know bamboo is prolific.
I have it at home. It's out of control. Yeah.
And the averages grows like 1 foot, a day. It's crazy. But anyhow, so what happened was we have too much.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a whole forest.
Yeah.
And it was actually starting to choke itself. So we could no longer plant the bamboo. So that's where we started with the mobiles. And they stand 6 feet tall. There's 3 of them and they're loaded.
Yeah.
And these are all the guests that have been here just 10 times. Then you walk through the property. This is a 630 acre property.
Yeah.
And for those who have been here 25 times, there's trees planted.
Yeah.
And you're on your hikes and you're on the top of a mountain. You'll come to a vista, a viewpoint. Those are named after people who have been here for 50.
Yeah.
And of my 10 years being here, I've inducted 6 of the 7 100 timers.
That's amazing.
And of them, only 1 is female.
Wow.
The other 6 are all male. And up until last year, we had not, in the whole history of the Golden Door, had a 100 timer that was a female.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
It's wild.
And that's not what you think. A lot of people think, okay, golden, you go to spa, it's overtly feminine thing. But, honestly, my men's weeks here are some of the most fun, energetic. It's a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
And I think that's the really unique thing about the Golden Door is there's, each week is an organic event in itself.
Yeah.
Something
happened. It's not like themed out.
No.
It's just every time I come, because the group of people are different, although I'll say every time I come, there is someone I've seen before, right? It's never, and by the way, Mike, there's only 40 people here at a time, 40 guests. But every single time there's someone who's been here before.
And that's really the product of the Vintners and Food and Wine Weeks because
they come from me.
Exactly. That's 100% true.
Okay, let me pause you here for a second because this guy, you guys are immersed in it. You're there right now.
Yeah, we're in what's called the dining lounge. Isn't that what you call it?
This is our lounge. So this is where our guests will meet before dinner, have a little appetizer, mocktail.
Awesome.
Congregate.
This is my perception. Immediately when you started talking about like these people come and have this experience, I like even the music from like White Lotus started going off. This is an episode
it is somewhat
White
like
Lotus, Golden Door. So for me to back up for just my imagination, already where you told me, I can have I would not have my bamboo stick anymore because we're not growing that, but I could have my mobile or whatever that I would get there to have 10 visits or what have you. I book it. I'm there today. Let's say this is my week.
Yeah.
This is kind of give me like a play-by-play, like the details. Like there's the intro of White Lotus, me walking in to Golden Door for this week. We've got winemaker Robbie Meyer with us this week.
So Sunday we came in and, you literally walk through 2 Golden Doors. It's beautiful.
It's the only original part of the original Golden Door, which was built in 1958. That was it was a little bit further down the road. This was actually built later in 72.
Okay.
And that's the only original piece from the original property is those 2 brass made Golden Doors that were made actually in Tecate, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Okay, hang on for a second. I walk up. Here's my music, White Lotus. There's a Golden Door. You're saying literally, boom, me and
I'll
my
take
crowd.
a picture to have for the.
You can see it on the website.
We're looking around. I'm like, hey, you guys are here, and
let me
boom,
walk
the
you through
Golden Door
that
opens.
as you come through those golden doors, you're
Yeah.
met with a host, and they're going to walk you through and invite you. And one of the big things is there's a lot of design on just trying to help people remove themselves from the outside world.
Right.
And,
Okay.
right after you walk through those golden doors, you meet your host. We've already picked you up at your airport or your house through with a private car. And then they're going to take care of all your bags, and you're basically just taking care of yourself here with the host. And as you walk across, there's this large bridge that crosses over our creek that runs in the front of the property. And you have to imagine the Golden Door sits in the gully between two mountain ridges.
Okay.
And so if you drove past us on the road, you wouldn't see it.
Never.
All there is this really kind of inconspicuous green gate.
Okay.
It's just a wooden gate, and you know how many people I've met over my history here in this town who've driven right past it and never knew it was here. So you get to this bridge and you walk across, but the bridge isn't straight. It's not straight. It's actually curved. And the reason for that is we'll walk you up to the point of where it breaks and immediately turns about 30 degrees to the left. And the hostess is going to stop you there and say, okay, this is the point where you cross over. And what you're going to do now is leave behind you all those problems, troubles, things that you were trying to think about in the car. And you're going to walk across this point. And from here, you will go onto the door, have your wellness and your mindfulness and your week, and you'll be prepared to come back to this point at the end of your week and meet those head on.
That's a great picture. Me and my 39 other people. You're saying with me on that bridge right there.
It's just
like we
you yourself.
You
Me,
arrive
myself.
one
You
at a
yourself.
time. Yeah.
Oh, one at
Everybody's
a
on their own
time.
time.
Okay.
So this
All right.
is and I think this is really one of the most unique parts about the Golden Door is even usually if you come on a co-ed week and you stay as a couple, you're both going to get an individual room. And the reason is because everyone has an individual stay.
Okay.
And so each room is one single occupancy only. And,
I gotcha.
So you cross over, you get into the lobby, and from here, everything starts to be taken care of for you. This goes so far as to even we even provide clothes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Toothbrush, everything.
Everything.
But even the greeting, we could do this for, you really need to come for a week to tell.
Yeah, okay. I'm into it now.
The way it's setting the tone, like when you do arrive and you come across the bridge and you go in, there's a normal hotel or even resort that you check into. You walk in and it's, everything has a very Japanese feel to it, as you can see from our backdrop here. But as you walk in, it's very quiet, very peaceful, a very Japanese countryside setting to it. But you walk in, it's very quiet, and you just sit down on the couch, and there's tea, just like the chef brought us here, a little lemon cookie maybe, or ginger cookie. And, you just sit down. You don't have to say anything, Mike. Just sit down, have a cup of tea, and they'll bring you a couple of items to explain the stay, should you not know or whatever. And your bags are brought to your room, and here's your room, and enjoy your stay, and then on Sunday evenings, we'll have our first, dinner service. And that's where everyone kind of first comes together and is introduced to one another. You'll go to bed that evening. The next day, there's a variety of different activities you can do or you don't have to do.
And you'll get a schedule for that too on Sunday night.
For that too. And so my favorite thing is to do the 5:30 a.m. Hike. It's 5-mile hike up the mountain and down. Really energetic. After that, you come home. You'll have breakfast. But we're going to get on the.
I
food
love how
thing
you said
too.
home.
Yeah,
because it really does. I think
you go on the hike.
That is part of what a lot of what I do from the culinary and the hospitality perspective is not. I'm not trying to make this avant-garde, frou-frou kind of meals. I'm really trying to make sure that you're going to be here for 7 days and you're going to have our food 21 times plus the snacks that you have in between. There has to be a large level of comfort. In that. Otherwise, you kind of feel like you're not. That's what makes you feel like you're at home, and I'm glad that it does transpire. And I know that's how people come back here so much is because it feels so comfortable. There's so much that are done underneath the level just to kind of help. All these guests have been interviewed 2 weeks before they come here, and they're interviewed to understand what is your goal? What do you want to do? What is it that you are trying to get out of the stay? And so from that interview, the schedulers actually will look at all that information that the interviewer took and map out a schedule for the week. Everything from what class might be suggested in the morning. Hey, your mindfulness, you really should try the Tai Chi class this every morning, and then have that mindfulness yoga later in the afternoon. Everything is scheduled out. And then, of course, there's always options to change it. You can walk into any class. So you don't have to sign up for any class. Like, it's like one of those, you really have a freedom to really kind of do a little bit of exploring. And we want people to kind of stretch out a little bit and see something unique and new.
So here's a question on that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Here's a question on that.
Yeah.
To both of you guys, as somebody that's there as the chef, actually creating this, and someone who is actively participating in the experience itself, Robbie, that you mention this individualized experiences, right?
Yes.
Right down to the, sleeping quarters, right? So when you do the interview and the profile at Golden Door, do you, each one of these, like you just said, Chef Dan, you go, your exercise, Tai Chi. I'm sorry, Greg, I'm sorry. Chef Greg, that your individualized experience, is that right down to food? Like you may have on your docket for the day to be not preparing the meal for everybody that we have at hand, but like contouring this to everyone.
Yeah, there's a, many of my colleagues hear about what I have here, 40 guests a week. I've got my own 7-acre garden, and I get to decide what we want to grow. Right. A massive amount of freedom to create and do things as I want. And then they see my board of the dietary restrictions and choices and such. And everyone's like, oh, no, that's not me.
Right.
I mean, literally each person has a customized meal plan, from everything to, some people just go with the flow and they have no restrictions. And then I have others who are really maybe, might be working out to put on gain weight and gain muscle. And so we'll make, different modifications in their diet to help support that with extra protein, fat in the right places, things like that. We have guests who basically want to have, I only like the strawberries from the left side of the field. And so we'll only give them strawberries from the left side of the field. I mean, it is as detailed as you would like. That being said, it's, there's not this massive army that's in the kitchen. It's 2 cooks and myself, or my executive sous chef, who's also been with me for like 9.5 years. And really, in the end, each meal period is, you've got 3 choices, but then from our side, there is countless ways of recreating and doing something different, because we can't use this, or we have to use that, or that sort of thing. It's really unique from a culinary perspective too.
Absolutely.
And then, there's so much to say about that. And thank you for the transition, Mike, because we can talk about the whole experience for a month, but just the culinary experience. So, it is very wellness oriented. Okay. And so we were talking about this, the guest and I were talking about this morning. It's very wellness oriented. So all of the food is incredibly pure, lots of whole food, all sourced, if it is going to be outside sourced from great purveyors, highest quality of ingredients. But so much of the ingredients, last night we had watercress that came right out of the creek here on property. So much of the fruit, like you mentioned, 7-acre garden, you have a bazillion avocado trees and citrus trees and lemon trees, and you have the aviary. You have bees.
We got chickens. We've got the apiary. I mean, the cool part from my side, I'm a culinary. So again, this is 630-acre property. And of that, we have 230 acres underneath agriculture. So most of that, I'd say 75% of that is avocados. And we years ago decided to change it from just 2 varieties of avocados. Now we have 7 different varieties. So that keeps us with pretty much our own avocados almost all the year. There's about 2 months where we basically are in limbo and I don't have it. But the rest of that is mostly citrus, and everything from navel orange, Valencia orange, blood orange, grapefruit, pomelo, lemons, limes, you name it, tangerines, So citrus is one of those great things that I have available tons of. And then from the gardens, this is probably the most unique aspect that I love to make a point is, you may go out to dinner at some great restaurant who have their own farm, and you might have a dinner with some of the stuff. They didn't pull everything out of the garden. Maybe it's a really small place and they can. But when was the last place you had something from the garden every single meal? Like it was like your own
For a
garden
week.
for a week, right? Yeah. And that's what So a lot of like our salad greens. If you're having salad for lunch, you're having salad greens that were just cut off the plant 2 hours ago. That's hardly. Yeah. And so there's a lot to be said about I don't put together an idealistic approach to the food. In other words, the most trendy, the most over the top kind of health food. Again, approaching this with that comfort level. And if it's very foreign, it's not as much comfort. And then you're just kind of at some point go, okay, I just want a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Well,
so that being said, is all of the food is it's natural, it's wholesome, and then on top of it is just making sure that I put little touches in the food that make sure that you have the right nutrition to go out and attack the day. Because people don't realize you're not going to maybe one or two people might come by and just kind of sit by the pool or work on their book or do something like that. The vast majority of folks here work harder than they've worked in a long time.
Yeah.
They get up at 5 a.m. From 5 a.m, they have their breakfast. Then they go into the first chunk of the morning from 8 o'clock until 1 o'clock. This is where all the work is being done.
Yeah.
This is where you work with your trainer. This is where you're going to circuit class, shooting archery, pickleball, tennis, yoga, whatever it might be, everything from fencing, boxing. I mean, you work.
Yeah, for sure.
In the pool, we're going to play water volleyball. That's a huge competitive thing. So you work really, really hard. And if this was just I don't want old idea of spa as a fat camp, if you will.
Right. Yeah,
That's not what it is. Really what we're putting together is I want to have I put together a culinary program that is helps people understand what they can have with an active lifestyle and maintain a healthy diet. But on all that, I mean, I agree with Robbie is that the experience part is really one of those things where you can just go on and on and on about it
for forever.
Forever, yeah.
But hold on, I don't want to get off on this because I think chef's he's correct in everything he's saying, but he's being a little bit humble in the presentation of the dishes because this is important to me, right? This is it's kind of half of what the podcast is about, and it's passionate what I'm into. But the presentation alone, every dish is visually very, very pleasing. They're beautiful creations. It doesn't make it food, but it's very, very high end, very beautiful dishes put together. And then on top of that, it is very, very delicious. Everything. I mean, every meal I'm going, that's delicious. No matter what it is, it's that's delicious. And third, it's incredibly healthy for you. I was making this comment this morning when I got up and the way that I felt. And in my diet, I eat a good diet, meaning that I eat high quality foods, but I eat way too much fat, way too much salt, I don't eat much sugar at all, but way too much dairy, and these are things that are cut out of this. And just like you say, it's like sometimes I'm like, I want a cheeseburger and a beer, and it's that's not here. But I give you 1,000% credit because after just a couple of days, my body feels physically different. There's no doubt about it. I sleep so much better. We talk about all the wellness activities that you're doing. You're freeing your mind, you're going to classes, you're exercising well. But that food component is very, very important to that experience. It is very important to that experience. And the thing that I learned at first that I didn't realize that when you sign up, you can have any of these options of you can be gluten-free, you can be whatever the case may be. But there's generally a selection of 1,200 calorie, 600, 1,600.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm about to change that over. When I got here 10 years ago, the diet was very clinical.
Yes.
It was austere, and it was a diet of what I like to say no's. And that's not for me, diet's a 4-letter word.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Nobody wants to go on a diet. You go on a diet, but nobody wants to go on a diet. And really, that's not the way to look at it. A good, healthy diet is long term, and there's no like short term goal. Anything that's going to give you a short term gain is going to come back just as fast. There's no there is
correct.
Of all the things that are out there that you can do, there is one constant, and that is just a good healthy diet over the long term of time is the best way to do it.
Yes.
And
correct.
even some of the shortcuts will get you, they might break and make new habits, but in the end, it's like being consistent and carrying over that nice, healthy diet over a long term. That's where you see, you're going to see some immediate benefits. And I appreciate that. It's, I know that it does help you while you're here, but, that being said, it's like, the calorie count, I'm moving past this because it's not a very good way of explaining to guests what they're getting, what they're having, because it's not exactly 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. So there is portion sizing, and this is really important to me. This is something that is important. It's so we do small, medium, tall, plus, and then there's just keep feeding me.
Yeah, which is what
which you can do that, that's fine. It's but that being said is, what I like to explain to folks is about, calories are they're a great measurement of what the energy is within the food, but you got to also consider and understand that calories were measured in with a Bunsen burner and a test vial in a laboratory setting. And this is how much energy is within the food. That's not necessarily as the energy that you are going to actually gain from that food.
Yeah.
So while quinoa looks incredibly high on the calorie count, it can be a little bit difficult for your body to digest that and get it, but it is incredibly nutritious. So really what I focus on putting into the food is very nutrient dense calories. And so that's where I think the calorie count, because you could fill up 1,200 calories easily with a bag of chips. But you're going to be hungry in how long? You're going to be hungry in just a few moments from then, right?
Yeah, exactly right. If you're just looking at if you just look at it as in this simplified term that it's just calories, what you're saying, Chef.
Right.
And back to what you said too, in terms of health, better health, a health spa, having food that's just close to the source, it should be just a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
And that because the food is so close. All right, so we're working right now through a cookbook, and this is one of the big points that I'm putting into this is food that is fresh is more nutritious than food that is not. All right. So this sounds like an easy, concept to understand, but people don't realize how much travel their food actually had before it actually got to their, let's just say house, not even into their, cooking or mouth. The average age of eggs is weeks, several weeks.
Sure, that's right.
Broccoli is, again, several weeks. That's why it's so. Fruits and vegetables and meats and fish and all that gets jet lag, just like you and I do. If you traveled halfway across the world, the fruits and vegetables are going to feel that same way.
They get oxidized. Even just simple oxidation kills everything.
I love talking about this, and so from that, this is where it really changes a lot of the mindset. So when I have new cooks that come through, it's the kitchen is a difficult kitchen to cook in. And I get professionals who've been doing this for years and have been executive chefs themselves. And, it's a challenge because you have to change a little bit of your mindset in that you have to see every step along the way is some way to keep the nutrients and the freshness alive. And fresh is such a important thing to understand, and keeping nutrients is getting it as fresh as possible. And that does, logically just become local. But this all comes down to even your equipment and what you pick to use. And is your, I bet you if I went out to just general public, their refrigerators, and I put a thermometer in their refrigerator, I bet you 80 to 60% are not at the right temperature. Yeah. That they're too warm. And that is like a huge degradation of nutrients. And whether they're really kept cold, if your knife is dull, you don't realize how much you're bruising. I mean, a surgeon doesn't grab a dull scalpel and just start working in. The sharpness of a knife helps you cut and only really touch the cells that you want to, leaving the other cells intact. Once the cell bursts open, that's oxidized and your nutrients are starting to degrade. And, so by having a dull knife, you're just smashing your way through these things and bursting all these other cells, and you losing. And again, this is a micro scale, but still, all of that is a mindset that helps get you to that point and save and be fresh all the time.
And it makes everything taste better.
It does.
The simplest thing, like for the home cook, and I had a chef point this out to me, and it wasn't in my own kitchen, but now I'm ultra paranoid about it. But Mike likes to cook as well. And most home cooks do the simplest thing, not even a dull knife, but whatever ingredient you're working with, creme fraiche, I don't know what it is, but you take it out and you open it up, and you cook with it, and it sits there, open.
There. Yes, right.
And then you finish cooking, and you close it up and put it back in the fridge, and you've taken so much life out of that. And that's the simplest thing. Cover your food and put it back in the refrigerator.
Keep it covered too, And refrigerators are dehydrators, so that's where the importance of keeping things covered. This is like a subject of when from a chef's perspective, keeping food fresh is like one of my top priorities as my job, is not only just, procuring the right ingredients, but then once I have them here, it's not like I can't use them right now. So I have to make sure that we're also a great store of these ingredients to keep all those freshness. And fish is like a great one. Many places have fish in their cooler or something. I actually have a old-fashioned igloo cooler in my walk-in. And the reason I get this question all the time, but from cooks that come in here are new, and I'm like, well, versus having just a pan with ice on it. Well, the ice melts away, but the one, that's like, it's a constant. In that igloo cooler, it's a big, huge insulated box inside an insulated box.
Yeah.
And within that cooler is the fish all lined up nice and neat, like as it swims in the water, covered with soft crushed ice. And the ice actually stays longer. And the temperature in that cooler is 32 degrees or less. Whereas when you just have the fish out in the refrigerator with just some ice on it, it actually is not. The ice keeps it cooler, but it's not as cold as 32 degrees. It's probably 36 to 34, which is a difference. And 2 degrees can be the difference between 4 days and a week and a half. So
and it can be the difference between microbiological activity and not.
100%,
1 degree can make that difference.
Exactly.
And these are the little things that, even if like I personally know some food science, I forget about. And like maybe even a very talented chef who has all the culinary skills in the world maybe miss some of these points, and it, I guess again, like going back, you have the talent, but it's also a thankfulness to the Golden Door to provide you that luxury. You could be working for someone who you might understand that, and they don't provide you with the tools necessary. So it's another great environment about working here.
And and that's a great point, is that, the owner that, when I walked in here 10 years ago, and the GM really gave me a large, basically mandate of, the only thing that was really said was, we want to be the best again. And what your job is just to get us back to being the best in, what you tell us what you need, and we're going to work at getting that done. And so from that, though, there, no one's in here looking over my shoulder as to what's being done. And I find that's actually very good, because it allows us as the experts, or I hate using that too, as, I'm not always an expert. I'm still learning just the same. But that being said, they allowed me to do what I needed to do, and I had to do a lot of changing. And changing, then that really comes down to mindset. But everything from us when we went to remodel the kitchen, I was basically given the task to remodel the kitchen, and you go be the designer. I was the designer. I was the contract. I wasn't the general contractor, obviously, but
securing the right equipment, and
it was my job to figure out where things were going to go, and no one was like, well, you shouldn't get this, you should have this. No one said that. It was, what do you need? And at the end, it was like, this is what you have to spend. Do what you need to do. And and that's great, because now the kitchen is actually set up as it should. Whereas before, it was, there was a great design by someone who understood a restaurant kitchen design.
Yeah.
And our kitchen does not operate like a restaurant.
It's sure.
You know, so our guests eat we have time periods. So it's like feast or famine in the kitchen. There's it operates more like a high-end banquet where, because we're getting everything prepared and then we're waiting for everyone to sit down. Everyone eats at the same time. So again, going back to those
that was a question I had. Everyone eats at the same time.
Yes.
They might have their individualized meals.
But that means 40 guests have to get fed in a short period of time, all customization. It's like you go to a restaurant, you're going to serve this table and then you're going to serve that table. And, this table comes in 30 minutes later and that table comes in 30 minutes. Here, let's take for breakfast, for instance, there's 40 guest rooms that are spread across a space of about a quarter of a mile. And there's no ramps. There's no, you have to literally hand walk all of these breakfast trays. So you walk into my kitchen at 6:30 in the morning. It's just a mountain of activity of everyone kind of moving around. We're setting together breakfast trays because everyone eats in their room.
Okay. You don't have to eat in your room. I like to eat in the dining room.
And Men's Week actually eat here in the dining room. But most of the regular weeks, everyone's eating in the room. So there's 40 trays all set out. And each tray is like, Mrs. Johnson gets black tea with half and half. And she likes two things, some sliced apples, orange juice, a green drink. And then there's going to be her breakfast. And then she's got to have, her sweeteners, silverware roll up, and coffee, whatever it is. All of these trays are individually made up for each one, and so, and then all these trays have to get hot food on them and sent out within a matter of, less than 10 minutes. And so we get to lunch is about that same idea. But, I don't have an espresso machine. And I get this question all the time. It's like, we don't have espresso here on the property. And the reason is because of breakfast. Because could you imagine?
Oh my
40 different custom. I mean,
oh Lord,
go to the biggest Starbucks and give them 40 individualized orders and say, all right, I need those in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And they have to be delivered over a quarter of a mile.
And it's got to hold until I get, so that is the biggest, but we again, going back to like the ingredients, everything, even the coffee that we get at the roasters that I work with, we get this stuff is roasted every week. It's fresh for us. The teas that we get are high premium quality of organic ingredients and everything for even the teas that we have in for lunch. The company that, I love them. I met them years ago and they're called Piper and Leaf and they're out of Alabama. And they grow most of their botanicals that they put into the tea for the flavorings. They don't grow the tea leaves there, but they make great little teas. But, like all that kind of stuff, again, is all for the mindset. That helps kind of, tea's not very, typically people put a lot of sugar in their tea.
There you have it. Hang on. This was going to be a question.
Shoot.
Because now we're like really drilling down into things that are way more healthy. We've already talked about like food close to the source, things that you're doing, your mindset. I love that you said working, people being active and their brains being active. Like, the whole ideology of like, I'm going to retire and you might just die if that's what you're going to do. Keep your mind active. Okay, back to the sugar thing. You see Mrs. Smith, she loves 4 spoonfuls of sugar in her delicious tea that you've sourced for her. But on maybe the bigger level, maybe Mrs. Smith, if we can wean her off of 2 tablespoons of that sugar in her type of thing, do we go that far to be like, you don't need that?
So you make suggestions?
I make sure that I'm out in a present part of the dining space so that if people have questions or things like that. But I'll tell you what, actually, there's a mechanism that helps change that. Now, one thing is if you want to do that and continue, I have that. I have people who bring a whole bag of snacks in their room so that they, again,
it probably happens more than you realize.
Oh no, the trash cans are right behind and your housekeeper is also my server, so I know exactly what you're hiding in your room.
Sure, right.
Anyone thinks that, but again, it's not a police state. I'm not policing their diet or their intake. I'm providing the right choices, and if you take it, you don't. If you take it, you do. You don't, you don't. That's not really my, for me, it's more important to provide. I'm the hospitality. I want to make sure that you have what you like, and that can be in a lot of different ways and seen different ways. But what the mechanism there is, one of the things is you're going to find is the food is so much less on salt, sugar, fat.
Yeah, right.
And I don't mean like we actively are like cutting this stuff out of the diet.
Sure.
Really, by just making healthy food and utilizing really, keeping the food bright, fresh, lively, lots of colors. Naturally, it's going to be very low in fat because, you don't want to have the fat in there. It's going to start covering things over and make it dingy.
That's right.
Your salt. Well, it's not about, we don't use no salt. We just use salt in the right way, in the right places. Right. It's very easy to hide salt. I mean, you can hide a lot of salt.
Yeah.
And that's really what people don't realize is it's not that they're, even when folks try to cook fresher, and especially like my chef friends, my goodness, when they use salt, they don't realize how much they're putting in every little different step of the way.
That's
and
me.
You hide it, and then and then at the end you're like, I still could use some more because it's it's
guilty.
That's right. That's right. Hey friends, what are you doing this weekend? Are you doing something fun? You having people over for dinner? You want to have a delicious dinner and friends over? You want to impress somebody? Okay, if you want to impress somebody, don't go to the grocery store and get that wine. That one over there that you had, last dinner party. Oh, yeah, they like that. That's fine. That's probably a pretty good one. That one is, too. That's a good wine. You know what you want to do? This time you want to impress them. You want to impress them with something super awesome. You know what you want to do? Get a bottle of Pearson Meyer wine. That's what you want. You want to impress them. How about it's just you? It's you. You live your life to the fullest and you're like, hey, look, I deserve something great every now and then, right? Guess what you want? Pearson Meyer wine. Duh. It's a no-brainer. Pearson Meyer wine. It's a very, very good wine.
One of those things is that during your week here, your flavors and your palate will change and adjust to these new things. And so if you're really enjoying the food, if you put that much sugar in your tea, it's going to taste overtly sweet. And, by bringing some of that stuff into the right level, like you start to realize, oh my goodness, well, I've just been punking sugar into this thing. And
absolutely,
I can fully vouch for this, and not with sugar with me, but like I said, my overuse of salt, fat, dairy, day one. At dinner on Sunday night, I'm like, give me. And then, as it goes along and, it's really just not available. There's not a cheeseburger available. Right. And so day 2, you might want that or crave it. By day 3 or 4, it doesn't even sound appetizing. Yeah. It's your body literally changes that quickly. It's really funny. And then when I leave the doors and go back into the real world, you have what might be a great meal, but it will taste very salty to you.
When I got, so again, it's like when I first got here, I used to, I remember this is a funny story because obviously if you're in the West Coast, in and out is a really big thing here. Yeah. And I've been here for a couple weeks and in my learning about the Golden Door and what the guests went through on their whole profile. And I actually stayed here as a guest, incognito, like undercover boss my first week, which was eye-opening. But so I learned that they had padded in your departure, like when the car picks you up and leaves, there was extra time for these people to stop at like In-N-Out or like something to grab.
Way.
Oh yeah, it was like an extra half an hour. I was like, why do you need so much time to get from? I know how long it is to get to the airport. You don't need that much. This is kind of ridiculous. Like, because most everybody wants to hit a stop. They hit a Starbucks. They hit an In-N-Out or something like that. So when I went to Starbucks and I just, I was like, at that time we all had logoed vehicles. And I said, do you guys know about the Golden Door? Like, oh yeah, they're here all the time. So fast forward to just a couple weeks ago, one of my, longtime guests and very dear friend. And, I was making this comment and saying the story. He's like, you know what? Yeah, this was what I used to do. And she's like, now, like, I've done this. I did it her last day was a year ago. And she's like, I hit In-N-Out afterwards. I just wanted a burger and it was terrible.
Yeah.
Just like, and it made me feel so bad.
So
just
bad.
Like,
That's
I
it.
felt
That's
so
it.
bad.
Right.
And if you're on that, so this is one of those things. Like, I know, like the first couple day or two, there might be something you're looking for, wanting. I always say it's like it's probably fat. You're just so used to having so much fat or dairy. That your body's like, hey, where is that? And it's used to processing that. Well, that's the thing, is if you're used to processing, fast food all the time, or burgers, or high fat, high saturated diets, your body is used to that. And so you're processing this.
It's a drug. It's drug. It says, hell, I want that.
Right.
It's the nicotine from the cigarette that you're smoking.
Cut
that
it
so many
out,
packs
and then
a
all
day.
of a sudden you go, oh man, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So,
but you still get the high sometimes, and I'm right there with you. I love that because you're going through reprogramming, almost like deprogramming to reprogramming. There's several aspects of this, chef, that I've done throughout my life that I can still get the rush, right, of knowing that sensation that I got from In-N-Out Burger, and I can get it without having to do it, because I go, oh yeah, hell, that was a lot of fun. But like you said, when you deprogram and reprogram yourself, you get it, and you're like, right when you're having here it comes again, and then you go, oh my God, I feel like shit again. Why did I do it?
Because those are two different things. One is the serotonin rush that you get from your primitive brain going, oh, this is like all these great nutrients. I haven't taken this high caloric fat diet. It's going to be great. And then you get the second part, which is your diet. Your digestion going, what the heck did you just throw down here?
Yeah, for sure.
This is all right. Can you go take a nap for a second? I need some time to process this.
Yes, exactly right.
That's a great understanding of the food. Is like, we do have a burger, but we have a turkey burger, but still it's like, it's a smaller size. But there's even pizza here. Actually tomorrow starts what I call the Holy Trinity, and it's because I was raised Catholic, and it's just fun. But there's Wednesday is bento box for lunch. So the lunches, these three lunches basically make up the week here. And the bento box on Wednesday, traditional Japanese bento box. Thursday is pizza day. So pizzas that we make the dough, yada yada. And then turkey burgers. All right, so these three things, I always say, it's like these were existing here at the Golden Door before I was here, and they'll be existing after I'm here. And I've been able to change them and work them so that they're better and et cetera. But man, all of our return guests are so looking forward. And this is one of the hardest things of my job, is making new things, because our return is so high.
Right.
And because it's that summer camp kind of idea, they have that comfort of being like, oh my God, I can't wait to have the turkey burger. Which is great. And I love that. But so that has been like, I've always said the biggest challenge of my job is not the dietary restrictions. It's not dealing with the unique, a nutritional balance of everything. My job, the hardest part of mine and my team's job, is keeping 40 unique individual guests from multicultural backgrounds, and well-traveled, to being happy. Not just happy, excited to eat at one place 21 times in a row. When was the last time you went to a hotel and spent a week there? I promise you didn't eat there, every meal. Most people don't even eat 21 meals in their own house.
Right.
Yeah. Right. A lot of people miss meals and don't eat 21 meals a week.
Exactly. That's true.
And so then, because again, we could talk for hours, but there are a couple things that I wanted to get into. So with the whole making people happy and the menu and keeping people involved and engaged, you did want to invite, as we have this week, Vintners Week.
Yes.
And you wanted to invite wine into the program. Generally speaking, here at Golden Door, there is it's generally dry. There's never hard alcohol, or there is the delicious mocktails, but no alcohol involved there. But you did want to incorporate wine, and I believe that you and I both have that same philosophy, that wine is, we had this discussion last night, almost an ingredient to a meal, or a participant in a meal. And so we did have wine last night. We had Pearson Meyer wine here last night. And, you stressed to the people, hey, we have these three delicious wines. They're going to pair well with the food. We can talk about pairing versus an expression of that. But the point is you saying, hey, kind kind of like everything, do this in moderation. We're not going to restrict you. We're not here to police you or whatever, but we know you want to get up in the morning and do all these activities. We know you want to have a delicious meal. You can enjoy these delicious wines, but hey, take it easy.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a valuable thing, and myself included. Yeah. If I was at another restaurant last night and I had your delicious meal, not with any intention of drinking a lot, but hey, I love my own wines, and they taste delicious. Mm-hmm. But if they're in front of me, I'm going to be drinking them, and it is such a great difference of experience. It gives me an additional level of respect for the consumption of wine, to do it in the right way. And, it's just like, again, on a daily basis at home at 5 p.m. prior to dinner, I might have a glass of wine. Right. And here that's just not part of the program. And guess what? You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just not a part of it. But that was, kind of an entrance to say, so you had created Vintners Week and had winemakers down here. That's kind of how you and I became friends. But since that time, you wanted to be able to have there's lots of signature items here at Golden Door, right, from the ginger cookies to what are the lemony cookies?
Lemon yuzu.
So good. Yeah. You have your potassium broth. That's my favorite thing here. It's so good. But you wanted to have.
Okay, whoa!
Hold on.
You can't do that, there, buddy.
I'll send you some potassium broth.
What are we talking about here? Potassium broth.
Explain it. That's my favorite thing. Every day it gives you so much. You're talking about getting a buzz off of food. It gets me high. I mean,
I'm getting a buzz
all right,
right
so
now.
The potassium broth has been a part of the Golden Door since its inception, its beginning. So that was not my creation, but it is it's an incredibly important part of the day here, and it is an iconic part of the Golden Door stay. Mm-hmm. You can't.
Okay.
If you talk to somebody who's been at the Golden Door, they're gonna the potassium broth. All right.
Well, what is potassium?
You got to keep in mind, the guests eat their breakfast at 7:30 and then go on to work really hard until their lunch, which is not till 1. This is a big period of time to go from, you've got, 5 hours, 6 hours from meals. So if you're working really hard, your body's going to be like, okay, I need something. And one of what this is basically a tomato-based broth. So all vegetable, there's no bone, no animal. It's tomato base. And then what we use is, the carrot peelings and the trimmings from the top of the beets to all kinds of things that get simmered in this tomato-based broth. And then that's served with some ground flaxseed, ground oats, and ground chili pepper. Now, the purpose of the broth is potassium. So the potassium is there to help, soothe your muscles that you've been working really hard.
Sure.
But the real secret of the potassium broth is not in the name. It's the fiber. It's the fiber, insoluble and soluble fiber that is a part of the broth that actually satiates and coats your digestive system, your cilia. That's what's working in your digestion, right? Well, it coats those, and the fiber is what helps get you over the hump. But, I'm sure you put a little chili pepper in
I do chili pepper.
All right. So all of these things. So the flaxseed is obviously going to get you good omegas. It's also a great source of fiber. The oats is really the fiber kicker. And this is all for guests to add. Everybody's got their own little mix and concoction. So they add a little bit of this, add a little of that. But the chili pepper is mine and probably one of the most favorites. And the chili pepper actually spikes. It gets your blood pressure in the right spot, and then also gets your endorphins running. And you're like, all right, I'm ready to go on to the next one. So the potassium broth, it's hot. It's even in the hot summertime, everyone's still loving it.
It's so soothing.
It is. And it's light. You get it's a small cup. And it's just enough to get
3 cups.
There you go. See, everyone's got, and I'll tell you, it's really, again, it's part of that unique individual stay. But even like when our Singapore Airlines partnership, we were challenged to put this on the plane so people can have this as a little break. But it became so popular, and I worked for 7 years to find someone who I could get to actually put this into a bottle. And so, guests will purchase this and take it home in cases. All right, we thought, okay, we'll sell some potassium. No, my goodness. I mean, sell thousands of these.
Yeah.
And you can even order it online, Mike, at Golden Door.
Okay, there I am. Hey, let me pause here for a minute. Like, take a break here. Fiber. And we know what the fiber is going to do for you. And don't sleep on that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's always real important for our, happiness of health.
Well, I think it's
having a good regular system, if we will.
It's a secret of the, not being hungry here is the quantity of vegetables that people are going to eat.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's part of what I'm trying to make people understand is that, I know you probably have a good diet, but if you just put the right vegetables in, you can have a lot of that stuff that you don't want to get rid of. It's the vegetables so in other words, it's real simple to even think in terms of you take your plate and use it like a pie chart, and you cut half of that plate up, or you cut the plate up into halves, and one half is vegetables, the other half cut into quarters, 1/4 carb, 1/4 protein. And I always like to say the carb, you just got to think in terms of really want to always focus on complex carbs. What are complex carbs? Whole grains, whole, things like that.
Not potatoes necessarily. I love potatoes. But
potatoes can be, but again, it's like last night we did have potatoes as part of it. And but what I did
grains is the number one.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I like to leave the skin on the potatoes because that's half of where there's a lot of fiber in that. A lot of good, most of your good nutrients in the potatoes are in that. But and it's it's about how you balance out. It's always about that. But that being said, if you went out and you got an 8-ounce steak, okay, you got your 8-ounce filet, how many ounces of vegetables do you need to eat then to balance out that 8-ounce
16
steak?
ounces?
16 ounces.
Wow.
So a pound of vegetables. Nobody's eating a pound of broccoli next to their 8 ounces of filet, right?
Yeah. Right.
But that'll help you realize why the protein portioning is a little bit smaller here. 400 calories of vegetables is roughly 2 gallons. It's really, you're not going to overeat on your caloric intake. Right. And especially, of course, the caloric, again, let's go back to caloric, the nutrient density. The fresher those vegetables are, the better. Lots of different, there's lots to say about that. But in the end, the potassium broth is just another part of helping you. It's like a mechanism to help keep you from, because you're hungry, you've been working out. The first thing people want to go get is something rich and either sugary, fatty. And sugar can play a good role if you're really trying to work out hard. Sugar can be a good energizer and help you finish up that workout, but it should never be the snack. And how many of those snacks are out there that are full of sugar? And I still also, we don't use substitutes here. Yeah. So I treat, of the three, sugar, fat, and salt. Sugar, fat, and salt are all treated with respect, and there is no secret. There is no one that's better than the other. I mean, you can always make that argument that, pink Himalayan sea salt has more nutrients than regular table salt. Yeah, of course.
Sure.
But you should never be eating salt to be healthy.
Yeah, right.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't learned that yet.
Right.
Just because it's pink Himalayan doesn't mean you can use more of it,
Right.
So that's what I always like to say is that, it's the same idea with fat. Olive oil has better attributes than, let's say, vegetable oil or butter. But again, it's not to say that you can just, it's better. I just add a couple more tablespoons on it,
Exactly.
I think that's, of that, when we look at as we're creating a dish, it's the proper usage of these things that lends itself to making a more healthy dish. And again, if you want to wake up at 5 a.m. after you've had some wine with the Vintners Weeks, and this was, it was a challenge at the beginning, is to really work that in and still keep it, healthy from a mindful perspective.
Sure, both wellness and mindful.
And what I learned was it was part of me coming out and saying, like I did last night, is kind of being the person to help put that mindful spot in your head. Look, enjoy the wine, but this is not about filling your glass. It's about enjoying the two together, and then that, because I want you to be able to get up in the morning, and then you feel better, right? You feel better, you feel energy. Since the food is energized, you feel energized, and and that whole process keeps running. It's just basically like dominoes, and just each one just falls into the next one.
Well, and with the you saying about the consumption of food and not only where the calories come from, but there's actually, we haven't really hit on this, but there can be, I don't want to say gluttonous, but at times, I just like with the wine, I will eat the food in front of me because it's there, not because I'm hungry, not because I need, my body doesn't need that, but I just, I eat it. So one that portion size is important. One, for the relationship between how you're getting those calories, but two, what is the portions that we actually need?
Right.
And
That's really a good place to say. Yeah.
and so that's the same thing is true with wine ultimately. And I shoot myself in the foot all the time by saying this with my industry, but I really don't believe that wine has any health benefits. We can argue about the studies that show.
Well, you could find a health benefit in everything.
Well, sure,
exactly. It's like you could find a benefit, and so this is where I always, it's a matter of perspective,
right?
That really can change where you see health, and for me, it's like that good balanced diet with lots of good color and lots of nutrient dense things are going to be that's the health, and I think more so on calorie because before coming back to this. You're going to really start to see the major shift in nutrition is not going to be on calories, and it's going to be really talking more about blood sugar levels, because that was really what I changed the most when I got here 10 years ago was, people's blood sugar levels were all over the place. Mm-hmm. Even because the diet was so clinical and austere, and you couldn't, it was like, no. In the end, the problem was that people didn't have a great diet on the outside.
Yeah.
And we were stripping a lot of this away from them, and then they didn't have it, and their blood sugars are going up and they're down and they're all over. And, keeping your blood sugar, and it's not a nominal thing, it's going to go up and down, but you have a parameter where you want to keep it at. And so when I first got here, by Wednesday, guests were angry. Mm-hmm. They were angry with us. They were angry with each other. Yeah. And, it's like, what? This is kind of wild, And then, of course, then it would settle in. And by Friday, everybody was happy. But, it was like, my goodness. And as I started looking over, and I really started getting into the nutrition of all the menus, I realized that, holy baloney, we're not giving them enough. And that was really what it was. So coming in on Sunday, this Sunday arrival meal is it's another part of our iconic stay is, it's a signature item of really nice, rich fish like our black cod that's miso marinated and it gets broiled. Or like this week we have steelhead trout because the cod fishery is closed. You also get a stir fry of vegetables that's mixed with a great complex carb, some forbidden rice, and you get a great salad, and you get a creme brulee. A creme brulee for dessert. And everyone's like, what? Yeah, okay. Creme brulee at a spa? You got to be kidding me. Yeah. Well, it's because, again, I need to get these folks to have a great source of energy for Monday when everyone has what I call Disney-itis. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They want to get their money's worth, and they're going to be on the hike. They're going to be in Tai Chi. They're going to get in the water circuit. They're going to play volleyball. They're going to do the dance class. Yeah. They're going to work so hard. And if you didn't fuel that, then that's where you have a problem with the blood sugar. And so what happened was people were working hard, not getting the nutrients to help that. And that wasn't such a problem for Monday. It started to show up on Tuesday. Sure. And then by the time you get to Wednesday and they're still working hard and they're not getting the nutrients needed, then you have a big problem. And it wasn't so much, so that was really the if you even looked at the calorie count, it goes up and down. It follows. I tried to follow people's energy levels of when they need it the most. When can I take things away? When can I add it? And, I think that helps, again, there's a little bit of science underneath that, but, no matter what, looking through the week and you mimic like, okay, my goodness. Yeah. Well, by Wednesday I was like, I'm starting to feel sore. I'm not going to work as much. So the lunch and the dinner is actually quite light. Yeah. And I do that because like, you don't need that. I've given you all the good stuff Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we start to go a little bit lighter. By Wednesday, it goes really light. And then we start building a little bit back in as you feel, okay, you're getting back into your energized. And of course, by come Saturday is really kind of very light for both breakfast and lunch, because really in the end, guests are, by Saturday, they've worked so hard and they're just like, I'm just going to go and enjoy the pool.
So there's something fascinating here to me that's connected between what both of you guys said, Robbie, what you said, health benefits of wine and what are they, and or the creme brulee. Is this one thing that is hard to measure by way of metrics or scientifically is this happiness? Right?
Well,
By providing that glass of wine. Now, mind you, this has to be, we're not the people that we say, we know that glass of wine makes me happy, or that creme brulee, that makes me happy, but I don't need to have a vat of it or 3 bottles of it because I'm happy. I want to think that it's going to feed my happiness, which, as we have learned, it doesn't in the big picture.
And
right.
I've made this point to a lot of folks over the time, is that someone comes in with a very strict diet of, it's very, very much in this little box. Okay. And they stress over making sure that they're eating what they, okay, I've got to have this and I got to have that. Oh my God.
Stress. Okay. You said stress. Right.
And so that is another part of why diet for me is a 4-letter word, is that, stress, I loved watching, the blue zones. I mean, and it's really simple. Like when you go and you see what these folks are, they have a good active lifestyle. They work, they use their mind, they use their body, and they eat just good, nutritious, fresh, wholesome foods.
Stress-free.
Yeah.
Stress-free. But that's the thing. It's like, if, you adding stress to your day just by you over your diet, there's nothing beneficial for your body. It's, so stressing over my weight, it's like, I understand that feeling that way. I get it. But, the other side of it too is like, again, it's like building in that just natural diet of wholesome, and how much, and you can't overeat.
Of course you
even
can.
unhealthy stuff, you can overdo it, but that's just called boredom.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the like you were saying, Mike, you want people to be happy and you want enjoyment, and why do people do these things? Of course, there are pleasures in life. People do pleasurable things that it depends on to what extent, but most pleasurable things are not actually bad for you. It's the quantity, the consumption of it, et cetera. And so I can give you, like an example. Like I said last night, we had wine with dinner, very limited amount. And, the guests are so gracious. And just on the way setting up the equipment here, I passed by a woman. She was looking for a yoga class. It's in that building over here. By the way, your wine was so delicious last night. I'm very particular. It was really delicious. That's the response you get from a wine evening here. I might go to another location and do a wine dinner, and the next day I see the guests who each had 2 bottles of wine personally themselves, and they're like, "Oh man, that was a big night last night. That was fun." Yeah. And sure, they had fun, but it was an entirely different experience. Sure. And here last night, we had a little bit of the wine, and when we were doing the staff training prior to dinner service, Chef was talking about it in particular. I was echoing his sentiment, but I was saying how, we talk about food and wine pairings, and that's one thing. But I like it when the wine is kind of an active ingredient, is the way that I put it, of the food. But Chef said it one step further, which is how you liked the complementary element, where I'm going to let you say it. There are elements in the food that...
Right. So like how we approach food pairing here for the wine and food is that I always see that the wine in the bottle is the best expression, and how it should be. That's what Robbie's done. It's put in the bottle. There's the magic. And from our side, we get the chance to modify and manipulate the food to make sure that it matches the wine. And some like to see that the wine and the food just homogeneously kind of come together. And I like to find new attributes in the wine that I didn't notice when I enjoy the food, and vice versa, the same. I want to see new things, and obviously good things. I mean, there's negatives, but we will taste through all the wine and taste actual foods with this, just to make sure everything's hitting in the right spot.
They'll set out a table of food, not arbitrarily, but like these different cheeses and these different vegetables and vegetables prepared in different ways, and just a whole table full of food, and they'll taste, the wine, and then go around the table and go, goat cheese, perfect hit. Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
that's a no.
You'd be amazed. Like, sometimes, theoretically, wine pairing seems, I was funny. I went to a wonderful class. I'll tell you about it later. But this past year we had the SOMCOM here. And so I went to the food and wine pairing class, and I was really, it was very generalized, and it's like, it's good, but it helps out with just like, education wise. But you know how many times I've had parsley and Chardonnay and hated it. And it's actually, it's wild. Same thing like lemon. Lemon and Chardonnay sometimes, can be magic. And many times it just destroys the Chardonnay.
Sure.
So there's lots of those little unique ways. So what happens is as we go through and taste everything, the dish literally kind of may manifest itself right there at the table. But, we land on these really, like the fish pairing last night was for me, it was like solid. And, because by itself, everything was tasty. But that's where I'm looking for is the wine elevated that whole dish. It made the watercress pop bigger. It made the potatoes taste richer, and vice versa. The wine actually had more of that fruit body came forward, and the earthiness was was right on par and kind of worked so good with the fish. But that's what I'm always looking for. Is I'm looking for both to be elevated by each other. So versus just kind of swishing in.
And guess what? To have that happiness and experience, I guess, first, for one thing, I just want to make the note that for me, Mike, I get this in the best of occasions. I will have a pairing of my personal wine that I know intimately. And then when it's paired with something that's done in that fashion, I'll experience something out of my own wine that I have yet to experience because of that condition. But and also to experience that happiness and to feel wonderful and get all that satisfaction. You don't need a pound of the fish and you don't need a gallon of the wine. That's the takeaway. It's like, control it in proportion. But, to that, his philosophies, he did want to make, some unique wine for Golden Door.
Yeah.
And so, we've paired up together and it's been really, really fun. So, we're currently producing Chardonnay and Pinot Noir from the Russian River Valley. But it's not just in growing the grapes with great intention and all of that. When it comes down to flavor profiling, just like I was saying, he has a table full of food where he's mixing and matching. He'll come up to Napa Valley and I'll have a table full of wine. And
so much fun.
Like every single barrel with every attribute. And it's really chef's call. I mean, you might ask my opinion. What is this? What is that? But I give, that's free reign. And we'll just do mixing and matchings with no rules of, 10 gallons of this barrel and 30 gallons of that and put together something great. And it's very, very satisfying for me because I can do this on my own and I can create something, but it's like you in my garden.
Yeah, right.
And, you putting out something together and you'll come up with something unique to what I might do, and so it's super cool. And so that's a super fun project that we have, and that's here regularly at the Golden Door.
Now, can we just like we can our potassium broth? I see now. Can we purchase our Golden Door wine?
We can.
Made with
I think there's a couple states that can't, but
there's always
someone.
But it is on the website.
Yeah, it's on the website. Yeah. So we've got 2 vintages of the Chardonnay currently available, and 1 vintage of the Pinot available online.
And so we can talk about that. We have intros and outros, by the way, that you don't have to be a part of, so we can close this cold. And I know it's 10:01, and I promised Chef I would have him out of here by then. And he is going to a cookbook meeting, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that briefly?
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about this one. So I'm leaving from this and going straight into talking with my collaborator writer for the cookbook. So, the Golden Doors has a history of having cookbooks all the way back to 1963. They used to put a cookbook out like every 8 to 10 years. And some were really big and some were kind of smaller. But since I got here, a couple, it wasn't long before people were like, hey, do you have a cookbook? I'm like, well, I'll start working on it. So I actually was starting to work on it and write it. And my goodness, I realized that this is not a me project. This is going to be this is a massive project. And then it kind of changed gears before COVID and turned into more of like they were looking at a digital. And my goodness, that is just an endless supply of content. And I was like, that's a small department. And then after COVID, it went right back to, like, look, let's get this cookbook done and let's do it. And so in the last 2 years, really found the right team. I've got a really great people that are on this team. And really, in the end, this is about bringing like the Golden Door home. Mm-hmm. What are the, it's obviously going to have a lot to say about the experience and how the week works and how the diet works within the day. But
you'll have your cooking philosophies.
But that's
and all
really
of
it.
that too.
It is.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing is the collaborating writer that I'm working with is just masterful at being able to take all the blah, blah, blah that I say and put it into a way that works great in the book. And it's because there is a lot of understanding the philosophy of why this went here and why that went there. And I hate when I read most cookbooks, it's just, here's a list of ingredients. Here's a method. There you go. I like to know the insides. What's the inside scoop? Like when you go to the cooking class here, it's not about the recipe. I mean, you can read that. I'm going to show you the stuff that's not on the page, and so that's right. I want the recipes to read more as like a story where you understand exactly why this is happening here. Why do we use this technique? Why is this being, paired up with that, whether we have detoxifying, ingredient. So all of this though is, I'm just really excited because it's going to be, it's something we've been needing for a long time. And obviously it's just showing that new, that new, innovation of what we have done here with the culinary program of being able to make sure that people have the nutrients they need, but in a way that makes them feel wholesome, connected, energized, and ready to go. And I think that's like, that's what I want people to be able to take and bring into their home. If you didn't get a chance to come to the Golden Door, that book is going to help everyone add new mindset to what they're doing at home to make their daily and their life more healthy. That's really at the end.
It sounds like it's just an overwhelming project. How long do you think when we might see it?
I have a very aggressive timeline, but in the end, I'm hoping that this, come this next summer.
Okay.
Either by spring or summer, being in print and being released. So
okay.
But I'm confident with the team that I have. That's the one thing is once I start talking about food, it's kind of hard to stop. So
no, I get it.
I can fill a book.
And so to this point, as we've kept you too long already, we don't have any rules or restrictions on our show on Drop the Check about having repeat guests.
Yeah.
And so the next time I come down to the door, I'm bringing my equipment with me. Or you come up and see us.
I'm up in April, so we can do some fun. Because I'll tell you that would be great to sit around when we had all the wine was just so much fun. It was just like the pairing at the dishes.
And we can mic that up. Like we tried to do it on my phone last time we did it, but we could mic that up and record. That'd be fun. Some even if it's just background for another program. But as we say here, every good conversation, just like every good meal, has to come to an end, and we must drop the check at some point. So I think it's time to drop the check. But thank you, Chef.
Thanks so much.
It's amazing as always.
Appreciate it.
Chef, thank you so much.
Look forward to talking more on the next one.
Hey, friends. Thanks again for listening to today's episode of Drop the Check. Please make sure to follow us at Drop the Check on all your podcast streaming services and at Drop the Check on Instagram. Also, we have email now, so please reach out to us at friends@dropthecheckpodcast.com. You can always reach Robbie at dropthecheckpodcast.com and or me, Mike, at dropthecheckpodcast.com as well. As always, Drop the Check is brought to you by Pearson Meyer Wines. Pearson Meyer, a very, very good wine. For Robbie Meyer and Drop the Check, I'm Mike Anderson. See you next week.